Hi, this is Kamera. My first few minutes with God, day number 272, Nehemiah chapter 11 through chapter 13, Psalms chapter 126. The leaders of the people, they resided in Jerusalem, the holy city. A tenth of Judah and Benjamin, they were actually chosen by sacred lots to also reside in Jerusalem, and people commended them for this. Scripture actually lists all those people who resided in Jerusalem around this time, as well as a few others as well. They list in scriptures today. The Levites who lived throughout the land, they were summoned to come back to Jerusalem to participate in the dedication of the wall. I absolutely love the way Nehemiah did this. He called the choirs up, he called the priests up, the leaders. He divided them into two groups. He had the choir, he had the priests blowing their trumpets, the choir singing praise to God. As one group went southward, the other group went northward, and they walked on that wall, and they ended up at the temple of the Lord. During their walk, they're just giving praises unto God, and this was a joyous celebration. The choir sing praises, giving thanks to God. Scripture details the path and certain buildings that they passed as they walked up to the temple of the Lord. Many sacrifices were given up to the Lord at this time. God had given the people cause for great joy. Even the women and children, they participated. That same day, Nehemiah appointed honest men or men to be in charge of the storeroom. The storeroom is used for offering and tithe. And these men were also responsible for collecting the offering and tithes from the people. The people of Judah, they took joy in the priests and the Levites' work. Yes, they were the ones, and they knew, performed the services of God and of purification. The customs of having choir, it started and began with King David and Asaph. This choir, they were also given portions of the offerings. The Israelites, during their studies, in-depth study, they noticed that or discovered that the Moabites and the Ammonites, they were not permitted to enter into the assembly of God. Remember, some of them resided there or came there for celebration, but they were not allowed to. They were asked to be escorted or banned from that because of the way their ancestors treated the Israelites' ancestors. They were not given food or water while they were in the wilderness. They even went so far as to hire Baal to send a curse to the children of Israel. So yeah, it's documented they're not supposed to participate in the assembly of God. So Nehemiah, he had gone back to Babylon, but in the 32nd year of the reign of King Artaxerxes, he asked to go back. He had been hearing some terrible things that were going on, and he came back to get things back in order. For instance, the high priest that was in charge of the storeroom, Eliashib, he one of the rooms. First of all, he heard that Elisha was related to Tobiah. Remember, Tobiah was the one that was totally against the children of Israel, fixing up the wall and the temple of the Lord. Yeah, he allowed Tobiah to have one of the rooms, the storerooms of God, and that's so he can put his stuff in there. Nehemiah came, and Nehemiah threw all that stuff. The king let him come back. He threw all of Tobiah's belongings out. He had that room purified for God's purpose to be used again. God's articles and his offerings. He also had discovered that the Levites they were being neglected. They were working in the fields because the people were not giving their tithes and offering like they should. And so he confronted the leaders, and he was like, why was the temple of God neglected? And he placed things back in order. He restored the Levites to their duties in the temple of God, and the people began giving their tithes and offering again. He then appointed honest men with excellent reputations to supervise the storeroom. People also neglected the Sabbath day. It wasn't being observed. So Nehemiah, he reminded the people of the sins their ancestors had committed and not observing the Sabbath day. So he reinforced that. He put that back into place, and he commanded the gate to the city be shut, closed from the merchants that Friday, as the sun went down, and not to be reopened until after the Sabbath day. The merchants, what they did after that, they set up outside the city walls. So Nehemiah, he reprimanded them till they stopped coming. So those merchants no longer sat up or set up outside the walls. Isn't that something? So he also learned that some of Judah's men, they married women of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moabite. These women worship idols. Isn't that something? And even some of them even had kids with these women, and those kids didn't even speak the language of the people of Judah. So he was so mad at these men, he beat them and he even pulled their hairs when he found this out. He also learned that Eliashib's son had married Sanballat's daughter. Remember, Sanballat was another one of Israel's enemies. Isn't that something? So that man there, he was banished. Actually, he was banished. So after Nehemiah put everything in order, he told the Lord, he said, in all I did, he says, remember this in your favor. Isn't that something? In his favor. Yeah. Nehemiah had to put a lot of stuff back in order after they had already made these promises they're going to do, right? Really? So now, Psalms 126, just a couple of the verses. When the Lord brought back his exiles to Jerusalem, it was like a dream. They said, we were filled with laughter and we singed for joy. Yes, the Lord has done amazing things for us, they said. Those who plant in tears will harvest with shouts of joy. But there you have it, guys. That's day number 272, Nehemiah chapter 11 through 13, Psalms chapter 126. You have a God-filled blessed day.